Hello everybody, my name is Kat and welcome back to my channel where we talk about all things horror. And Happy New Year! It's 2024, we made it. At least I hope we made it. I am recording this a few days before New Year's. So I have been gone for a few months now. And the reason for that is because I was finishing my PhD degree. I was in a PhD program doing film studies. I got to write my dissertation on horror films. It was really cool. And I have a few videos that I'm editing right now that I'm excited to release, but I also wanted to film something and get something up on the channel. And I figure since it's the new year, I might as well talk about the upcoming horror films for 2024, because that's what horror YouTubers do, right? So I actually have to be honest, I'm not entirely sure what is being released in this next year. I mean, I know the big titles like Maxine and Nosferatu. So those are probably my most anticipated films of the new year. I think I also read something that there's going to be a new Jordan Peele movie being released the same day as Nosferatu. So I'm curious to see what his new film will be about. And other than that, I have no idea. So I'm just gonna go ahead and look up what horror films are gonna be released in 2024 and just kind of give my reaction to them. Let's see what we got here. Imaginary. I have no idea what this film is.
Something happy.
Okay, so this is given kind of like Megan vibes. Okay, yeah, that feels like Blumhouse is just writing off the success of Megan and are like, let's do more evil toy movies. These type of movies usually don't do much for me in terms of like the supernatural stuff. I just don't find the supernatural stuff that scary. I mean, having an imaginary friend is kind of a universal experience, so they could do something really cool and interesting with it. But I don't know, I always go in a little skeptical to Blumhouse movies just because of, you know. Okay, and then we have Night Swim. That's that killer swimming pool movie that they've been showing trailers for a while. This is one I'm actually interested in. I mean, the premise itself seems really like dumb and ridiculous, but I believe it's written or has some connection to James Wan. So I'm kind of curious as to what it's going to be. It could be another thing like Malignant, where you're going into it thinking it's going to be one thing, and then by like the third act, it completely like turns around and surprises you. I mean, it could be an interesting twist on the haunted house motif. Instead of a house, it's a swimming pool. I believe this is another Blumhouse movie, so again, going in with low expectations on that one. Quiet Place, day one. Okay, I have a bit of a confession to make. I am not the biggest fan of the Quiet Place films. I can't even say the films because I didn't actually see the second one. I saw the first one. And I know the first one, it's like really praised and it's, you know, elevated horror and all of that. And there were certainly things that I liked about it. I liked the whole father-daughter relationship in that film. But, you know, along with supernatural stuff, another thing that just does not scare me, that does not get me as a viewer, are these creature films. I don't know what it is. I'm just not into creatures, and it might be because a lot of modern day creature features are done with a lot of CGI. And I feel like the monsters in A Quiet Place reminded me a lot of the main monster from Cloverfield. Although I feel like I say that for every creature movie that's been coming out. It's just like, oh, the monster looks like the one from Cloverfield. I don't know why. Again, I think it's just the CGI technology. They all just have the same kind of look to them. The First Omen. So this sounds like, well, I guess from the name, The First Omen, it's going to be a prequel to The Omen. Yet, you know, these prequel movies, is this another Blumhouse movie? Did they get the rights to The Omen and are trying to make a cash grab out of this as well? I mean, The Omen, like, it's good. It's a classic. As far as like demonic possession, Satan coming up on Earth type movies from the 70s. Like, I'm probably more of a Rosemary's Baby girly. The Omen is a classic. I doubt that this film will be anywhere remotely close to the genius of the original film, but maybe it will surprise us. Doubt it, but it might. Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2. Yeah, pass on that one. Alien, Romulus. Oh yeah, I heard about this. This is the next Alien movie directed by Fede Alvarez, which I'm kind of excited for. I've liked a lot of Fede Alvarez's previous work. I actually really liked what he did with Evil Dead. I know that not everyone is a fan of that movie. I like the way that he used the Deadites as a metaphor for addiction. I thought all of that was kind of cool. And I feel like he got and I know some people are going to be angry at me for saying this, but I do feel like he got the overall essence and tone of the original Evil Dead film without needing to do what we see with a lot of these prequel, requel, reboots, which is just to rely on fan service and bringing up things from the first film. So I'm curious to see what he's going to do with the Alien franchise. I feel like I have heard some things about this project and it was mostly positive. I'm curious how he's going to set it between the first film and the second film. Actually, yeah, I'm going to be moving this one to like probably my third most anticipated after Maxine and Nosferatu. I'm really curious to see what he's going to do with this franchise. And I feel like we haven't had a good Alien movie since like Aliens. The movie theater that I helped do programming for did a Aliens retrospective screening a few months ago. And getting to see it on the big screen just reminded me how great that film is. It's probably the best thing that James Cameron has ever done outside of like the Terminator films. And it just makes me really sad that all he's doing now are these dumb Avatar sequels. But yeah, I feel like we haven't had like a really good, solid Alien film since the second one. Oh, of course, we have Terrifier 3. I'm looking forward to Terrifier 3 as well. I wouldn't consider myself like a big Terrifier fan. I say that as I have like the collector's VHS behind me. You know, they're just these movies that obviously rely a lot on gore. You're not getting a lot in terms of story and character. I'm much more of a story person rather than a gore person. But aesthetically, I do like it. I do like that there are films that feel like genuine throwbacks to obviously the like 80s VHS films that it's trying to emulate. Also, my mom loves Terrifier. She loves the first one. I don't know if she's seen the second one yet, but my mom loves Terrifier. She thinks it's a classic throwback to the 80s films. In her words, it is what a good horror movie should be, and she's the one that got me into horror films to begin with. So she's definitely the expert here. So yes, yay Terrifier, excited we're getting a third one, and I'm also excited it's a Christmas movie because I love Christmas horror, and I feel like the offerings that we got for Christmas horror this year were not that great. Oh, okay, so this one is definitely going on my list of the most anticipated. I have seen the trailer for this one, Lisa Frankenstein. I am looking forward to this simply because I am such a fangirl of Jennifer's Body, and I'm happy that it is finally becoming the cult classic that it always has been. So I'm very excited to see what Diablo Cody is going to do with this film. This looks like it wants to be another fun, campy horror comedy. So yes, I'm excited for this. My instinct tells me that it's probably not going to be as great as Jennifer's Body, but that's okay. I'm going to go into this with, you know, like modest expectations. And I do wonder if like the newfound success of Jennifer's Body and the fact that it now has its audience is the reason why she's able to make this film right now. That's really interesting. The Strangers Chapter 1. The poster's kind of creepy, I guess. So I love the first Strangers movie. It has been quite a few years since I've seen it, so I don't know if it holds up as well as it did. But when I saw it as a kid, it like terrified me. For the longest time, it was one of the only horror films, aside from like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original, that just scared the shit out of me every time I watched it. I remember being a teenager and my parents would like let me stay in the house alone over the weekend. And for some reason, I would just put on The Strangers and just freak myself out. Creatures and the supernatural stuff don't get me, but real humans, like real human monsters that will just like come into your home, yeah, no thank you. So watching The Strangers the first time was like seeing my worst nightmare coming true. I thought it was so well done, just the scenes when she's by herself in the kitchen, of course, that iconic scene where you just see the masked guy kind of peeking around the corner and just staring at her. To this day, when I am home alone, and I will just think about that scene and just creep myself out. But because the first film scared me so much, it's one of those things where I haven't gone out to see any of the sequels that have come out. I don't need more information about The Strangers. I don't need to know more about the killers. I feel like the first film, keeping it all kind of mysterious and not giving you that much information, is what made it so scary. And I feel like if I go to see the sequels, like it's gonna diminish a lot of what I thought was great about the first film. Like it's gonna water down the first film for me a bit and not seem as scary. But it looks like we're getting, from chapter 1, it looks like we're getting a prequel of some kind. I'm guessing that this is going to talk about who the strangers are, kind of giving their background, I guess an origin story. Let's just hope it's not one of those weird things where it's like, oh, they were part of this like secret cult the whole time that has all of these supernatural powers. You know, let's hope they don't go thorn cult on us. Please just don't do that. Imaginary friends. Why does this look like the other imaginary trailer? It has the same bear and everything. Is this a horror movie?
Let him say it or I think his head may actually explode.
Okay, interesting that we have a theme this year, it seems like, of imagination. So I wonder what that's like culturally tapping into. Okay, what else do we have here? The Home, psychological horror thriller. Doesn't say what it's about. Oh, Pete Davidson. Okay, pass. Witchboard. This is a remake? A remake of the 1986 film of the same name. I'm sure that this is going to be another standard remake, probably not anywhere as great as the original film. I actually haven't seen the original Witchboard in quite a few years, so maybe I'll go back and revisit that sometime before this comes out. Twisters. Disaster film that is a new chapter of the 1996 film Twister. I love that. A new chapter. Okay, I'm excited for this. I love a good disaster movie. I love Twister. I'm very much excited for its hopefully intense depictions of really bad weather. The Crow, is that actually coming out this year? I feel like we've been waiting for this film for decades now. This looks interesting. Horror scope. What is this? A group of college friends begin dying in ways connected to their fortunes after getting their horoscopes read. After getting their horoscopes read? Can't you just read your horoscope in like the newspaper? Is that what they mean? Or do they mean like going to like a psychic and getting their fortunes read? Okay, well, this could be something along the lines of Final Destination and be really great, or we could get something like, what is it, Truth or Dare, or whatever those weird like movies are that star Lucy Hale. I'm really digging the poster for this movie. It looks like a kind of throwback to like those classic kind of vintage covers that you would see on horror books from the 1970s or something. The Strangers Chapter 2. Is this going to be like a back-to-back thing where it's like in the spring you get part 1 and then in the fall you get part 2? Is that what they're doing here? Again, I don't know if the Strangers franchise like needs that. I don't know if it's going to benefit from that kind of storytelling. Okay, Stream. I mean, the cast is interesting. Jeffrey Combs, Danielle Harris, Dee Wallace. These are all like our classic friends from the horror films that we love. Felissa Rose, Tony Todd. Wow. Oh, interesting. This is another one of those like crowdfunding horror films. Yeah, this is really kind of the thing with making horror films and horror distribution now, and frankly, I am all for it. I think it's great that there are other avenues for filmmakers to be making their work outside of the studio system. The Strangers Chapter 3. What? Okay, George Romero's Resident Evil is an upcoming American documentary film. So this is, I'm gonna guess, a documentary about his supposed Resident Evil movie that he was going to make. Didn't he do like a treatment or was it a commercial? And then he never got to make like the vision that he had for the film. And so I'm assuming this is a documentary that is going to explore what his version of that could be. I'm assuming it's going to be something along the same vein as a documentary that was released about Alejandro Jodorowsky's Dune. The Dune that never was, that never came. I saw the title and got a little nervous because I was thinking that this was going to be like George Romero's like treatment or script for Resident Evil and then have someone else make it. So that's interesting. I love a good horror documentary. I'm actually curious to see that. What is going on with The Strangers? Why do you have like 3 films? Also star in the movie, which is being plotted as a trilogy. Okay, so is it a thing where they're taking one story and stretching it out to 3 films because why? Or is it going to be a thing where it's like 3 different stories? Is it a thing where we're going to see like the same story just told from different perspectives? Like you have one perspective from the killers, the other from the protagonists. Again, it's not one of those like stories or franchises that I feel like would benefit from this kind of storytelling. But maybe it'll be great. I don't know. I'm nervous about all of that. Okay, and now it just looks like it's giving me 2025 releases. So yeah, it looks like those are going to be like the big big names for 2024. So overall, some really interesting stuff in there. I'm also very curious to see what is going to be coming out from the indie side of things. And as you can guess from the title, there is also one film that I am very much not looking forward to, and that is Speak No Evil, the American remake of the Danish film that was released in 2021. Now, I saw the original film when it was released at Sundance. I say that all fancy, like I went to Sundance. I didn't. That was the year that they had their Sundance at Home thing where you could just like rent the movies and watch them in your living room. So I got to watch it through that, and it was phenomenal. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend checking it out. And don't read too much about it before going in. Like, I think it's one of those films where the less you know, the better it is. But it was so well done. It's just a film that is so creepy and just bleak and very nihilistic. It's just one of those films that like crawl under your skin, and the ending, again, is just so like depressing. So I really, really loved Speak No Evil. And I'm really nervous about what this remake is going to be, especially again, because it's coming from my good friends over at Blumhouse. I feel like this is gonna be one of those remakes that could go in one of many directions. It could be good. It could be just as good as the original. That's a very rare thing that happens. I mean, the only one that I can really think of off the top of my head is something like The Ring. Although I might be biased in saying that because I saw the American Ring before I saw the Japanese one. Had it been flipped, I might feel differently about that. There's also the more likely scenarios where it's either going to be just kind of derivative of the original film, like just kind of like a beat for beat, shot for shot remake, just again with American actors. And with those films, I'm always kind of like, what is the point of that? Or it'll just be something that is completely like subpar compared to the original, and they don't get the tone right. Like the original is also very much a slow burn. Like it really takes its time to kind of build up what is happening. And there's just like an artistry and an elegance to it that I don't know if the creators of this American remake are going to be able to recreate or do in the same way. So as far as like what I consider to be the most unnecessary films coming out this year, that one is definitely at number one. I'm probably going to do a breakdown of the original film before the American remake comes out. Just talk about why it is like so scary and why I think it is so effective. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the horror films that are coming out for 2024. What films are you looking forward to most this year? Let me know in the comments down below, and I will see you next time. Thank you so much for watching.